Hey guys, welcome back. In this lesson, we'll start setting up our environment for a local deployment of our API. Now, when we say local deployment, this could easily be your personal machine. So in my situation, I'll be deploying it on my personal machine, but it could also be on a company machine or a server somewhere that this API needs to serve, across the network, and it could potentially even be to the internet. Whatever the situation, I'll be teaching you or showing you critical steps towards prepping this machine so that it can host your API. So our journey starts off here where we have to download the .NET 5 runtime. We already have the SDK, which we've been using for development, but we want to make sure we have the runtime and we can just get that hosting bundle for Windows. So when you do that, you launch your installer and then you go ahead and install it, go through any security checkpoints. And once that is done, you can close that. And then now we're going to move on to setting up IIS, or Internet Information Services. So what we want to do is add. So you can just go to your start menu and say add feature. And then you want to click turn Windows features on or off. So once that is selected, this little box will pop up and you want to make sure that you select Internet Information Services. Once you do that, you're going to get that square. That square means that, it's not everything that is ticked, which is fine. You don't need every single feature, but I'm going to show you the ones that I have currently installed, and then you can just go through and make sure that those are also ticked on your side. So I have the management console, and then I have these libraries for application development features. So you can make sure that you tick these off. Maybe you don't need all of them, but it works for me with these. So I would recommend that you make sure you have those. And then for HTTP features, you can go ahead and tick those. Health and diagnostics, that section is actually optional, but I recommend that you get the HTTP logging section. And then performance features, basic authentication, and the others. So once you have those, you can click OK, and then it may take a while to install. I already have them, so I don't need to wait for them to install. But once they finish installing, then you can resume this video. So once you're sure that you have IIS, or that process is finished, to make sure you have IIS, you can just go to your start menu and type in IIS, and then you'll see it pop up. And then when you launch, you'll get this console showing you your server and all of the sites that you have currently listed under there. All right. To make sure that it's working, you can actually just click on default website and go to browse. And then it will show you this page, which shows you that you're now seeing your server. Now, another essential part of setting up your local environment will be to make sure that your database server is up, installed, and running. So when we talk about the database server, we have a few options. In an enterprise setting, you probably already have it, or you should have it. You can check with your system administrator, whatever you need to do, but you just go ahead and make sure you have SQL Server. On a personal level, if you don't already have it, you have two options. You have either developer or Express. So Express is very free, no licensing required at all, but then it has some limitations. So on a personal level, Express is fine. Developer gives you far more features, and it's actually full powered. So it's a much bigger download and a much bigger task to have it installed. It gives you access to many more features. For this deployment, you probably can get away with Express, but then maybe if you're thinking about longevity, you probably just want to get developer so you have everything you need. So you can go ahead and download that. The installation is pretty straightforward, and at the end of it, you'd be prompted to install the Management Studio. And just in case you miss that step, you can always just Google SSMS, which is short for SQL Server Management Studio. And once you go through that, you can always just download the Management Studio through this medium also, which is also a straightforward installation. So to launch the Management Studio after it's installed and to connect to your database server, you can go ahead and click the icon and you'll see this splash launching screen. And to connect to the server, you'll have to put in the server name. So I have two servers running on a few servers running on my machine right now. I have SQL Express. So I do have an instance of SQL Express, but I also have an instance of the developer. So to get to SQL Express, you can say dot backslash SQL Express. That dot really means local host also, right? And then if you went with developer, then you just need localhost. So you wouldn't need any slash anything else. So I'm going to use developer. So if I say localhost, and it will connect, and I think I have a few databases, not too many. So we can proceed. Now, before we move to the next step, I just want to encourage you, make sure that you have admin access, or even if you don't have administrative access, if you're in an enterprise setting where you're not in a position to be the administrator, that you at least have enough access, or you are working with somebody who has the access to carry out some of the actions here. So a lot of the problems that people encounter when doing these kind of deployments, outside of probably missing out a library, not installing something, the next biggest issue is usually permissions and authorizations, right? So just make sure that you're working with somebody, if that is the case, who has enough permissions to go around any potential roadblocks. And if you're on your personal machine, or a machine that is yours to manage, just make sure that you have administrative rights.